microphone.
Okay. I guess I'll just very briefly introduce myself. Obviously, Adam Pritchard. I've been playing diatonic harmonica since I was about 18, so that's well over 30 years now. And I probably should be a lot better than I am after 30 years. I think one of the things, to some extent, anyone sort of learning or trying to get to grips with the harmonica now is so much of an advantage to some extent because of these kind of things. How much information is there is out there. And my excuse is when I was learning, it wasn't like that, and you really couldn't find. I certainly couldn't find anything about a harmonica. But actually, I think that's in some ways almost an advantage because there's so much information out there now that the temptation just to sort of move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing before you've really sort of nailed down the thing you're working on at the moment is just too great. I mean, I do it. I browse videos all the time, watching other players and things. And I think when I was doing most of my learning, it was every little thing that I learned was a major milestone. You know, it was a new discovery, and it would probably be months and months and months, if not years, before I learned the next major thing. So to some extent, that forces you to just carry on and get to grips with it. So I've got some slides. I'm going to share my screen and take you through the course. Hopefully, share the right screen and just present that. So hopefully, everyone can see this. I'm just going to move all your lovely faces over into the corner. So this is aimed at really anyone who has got a reasonable command of sort of techniques like bending, etc. Plays second position a lot, but have never really delved too deeply into third position or really want to know a bit more what third position is all about. So I said it's for intermediate to advanced players simply because to really get to grips with third position, especially at the lower end of the harp, you do need a good command of your bending on those hole 2 and hole 3. But that's not to say that you can't tackle third position. I don't want to put you off because there's lots of great reasons to have a go and start playing in third position, not just for minor blues. A lot of people think third position is for minor blues. Absolutely not. You can play most forms of blues with third position. So hopefully everyone's got their key of C harmonicas. So what are we going to cover? Hopefully by the end of this, and I apologise for those of you who may know some of this already if I'm just going over old ground for you, but I think it's useful to get a bit of background and understanding of what makes blues blues, what's the key notes we want to play, what's the blues scale, and how do we play it in all three positions, so you can see third position in the right sort of context, in the context of those other positions that most blues harmonica players stick with, the first, second and third position. And then obviously the second half of the workshop, I've got a 12-bar sort of blues jam track, and I've got some, we're going to play over that in all registers of the harmonica. So starting in the middle, which is probably the easiest place to start with third position, moving to the top end of the harmonica, which many players tend to avoid for whatever reason, tend to be a little bit more fearful of moving up to that top end of beyond hole 7. But actually third position is great for that, and then also down the lower end as well. So without further ado, I'm going to start with a bit of little bit of theory, but don't want to put you off. But for some of you, it may fill in some gaps. I don't know how many people here play another instrument and have learned or had any kind of training in music at all. Can't see everybody's faces, but whether there's any nods there, or you just play harmonica, and well, we'll go from here. Right. So I'm going to start very simply with the chromatic scale. Okay, so this is all 12 notes of Western music, and this is the C chromatic scale because we've got a C harmonica we're going to be using here today. So some of these notes as you may know, have two names called enharmonic equivalents. So we've got, you know, D flat can be called C sharp, E flat, D sharp. This is all pretty basic stuff. But I'm just going to use the names that we see most commonly printed on harmonicas, just to avoid any confusion. So I'm not using G flat, I'm going to use F sharp, because we're all used to seeing a harmonica in the key of F sharp. You don't get many harmonicas labeled G flat. Reason for that is actually the tuning of the F sharp is generally higher than the F, and sharp would generally indicate one semitone up from the F, you're going higher than, whereas flat, you're always going lower than. So if it was tuned, if it was a low F sharp, we might be more inclined to call it G flat. Anyway, so moving on. So that really corresponds to a chromatic scale in first position. That's all 12 notes lined up in sequence of pitch. And second position would be, we're just lining up those notes beginning and ending on G. And beginning and ending on D is equivalent to third position. Just to make sure we're all talking the same language, one of the key things to know about is intervals. So again, the distance between any two notes in the chromatic scale is called a semitone. In America, they refer to that as a half step. Similarly, a whole tone would be a whole step. You may have heard the different terminology here. And then an octave is simply the distance between one note, any one note, and this note, next note up in the same name. So obviously, the 13th note up from that in the scale would be an octave. So every scale in music is made from pretty much in Western music is made from a combination of these notes, and generally it's the key thing is the pattern of intervals. So this is the major scale. It's the major scale pattern. So most people hopefully already know how to play the major scale on their diatonic harmonicas, certainly at least from the middle of the harmonica. I've lost all your faces, so just trying to get them back. Sorry. Bear with me. Where have you all gone? Ah, that's better. I don't like doing this when I can't see anybody. So yeah, so the major scale in the middle of the harp, obviously, and then down the lower end. And just a tip, if anyone struggles with those 2-hole draw and 3-hole draw bends and getting their intonation right on those, just that exercise, major scale, is a really useful thing to do. So I know blues players probably would avoid doing this, but actually it's a great way if you train your ear with that major scale in the middle octave. And then move down to the lower octave, you've really got your ear should be able to hear where you're hitting the right 3-draw and 2-draw bends. So just a good thing to practice regardless of what type of music you play, really just to get your intonation, because especially that 3-draw, if you get that middle bend on a C harmonica, that's the A, or the whole tone bend on the 3-draw, once you've nailed that and you get that consistently well, it's much easier to know when to bring it up a little to get to that half step bend and just lean on it a bit more to get the tone and a half bend. So that's the major scale. And obviously one of the things that can be difficult to remember what all the notes are in each different scale, depending on what key our starting note is. So in musicians, we just tend to, there are different ways of using names to those notes or giving names to those notes. So one of the most common you'll see is just numbers. So we number each note of the major scale 1 to 7, and then back to 1 again for the C. Another common way, if you're a singer, you may be familiar with solfege, or if you've listened to The Sound of Music, that's another way. They give them actual syllables. So it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And there are actually names for the notes in between as well. So, but most musicians would use this notation. And the notes in between then are either, we either give a flat or a sharp name. So, for example, the note between 2 and 3 is referred to either as the flat 3 or the sharp 2. So you have quite commonly, oh, that's the flat 3 or the flat 5 or the flat 7. And it's just referring to, depending on your scale, it'll be a different note depending what key you're in. But you know that the flat 3 is always the flat 3, and its relationship to the notes around it are the same, are the key thing. So, is that any questions on that before we move on? No. So if we look at the blues scale, then it's a different pattern of notes, and this is the pattern for the blues scale in the first 3 positions. And it retains some of the notes of the major scale. And the major scale is obviously, you know, all quite jolly and you know, used for playing, you know, various different things like classical and folk, etc. But not so great for blues. But the blues scale has some of the same notes, but then the key differences and the things that really make the blues scale much more bluesy and give us the sound we want to try and achieve are these 3 notes. We call them the blue notes. It's the flat 3, the flat 5, and the flat 7. So they're the key notes we're looking for, whatever position we want to play in, if we're playing blues. So let's just take a look, first of all, at the first position. So in first position, those blue notes are E flat, F sharp, and B flat. And down below here, we've got a little, you know, the notes on our C harmonica, and it just shows where those notes can be found. So if you split the harmonica into 3, into the lower octave, harmonica's 3 octaves in total, the lower octave, sort of 1 blow up to 4 blow, and then 4 blow up to 7 blow, and 7 blow to 10 blow. Down the bottom end of the harmonica, you can see we're missing one of those notes, the flat 3. It's up there at an overblow. Most people who play harmonica don't attempt to play the 1 whole overblow. You can do, but it's not, you know, I'm going to assume that we're not talking overblows here, right? So down the bottom of the end, we're missing one of those notes. In the middle of the harp, we haven't got any of them, right? In first position, they're all overblows. We generally can't get to those notes unless you're pretty competent on overblows. And then up the top of the harp, we've got all 3. So does anyone see the pattern here of what you'd associate with first position blues? Tends to be high-end harmonica right at the top end of the harp, like sort of Jimmy Reed style, or down the lower end as well. So, but not a lot of happens in first position in that middle of the harp, because the blue notes are just not there. So if we look at the blues scale, down the bottom end, in first position this, and I know this is a 3rd position course, but it helps to sort of set the scene, you're missing one of those notes, which is that E flat. So you can get your first position scale, and again, you do need to have good sort of control of your 2 draw bends here. Instead of playing that E flat, most people will play the 2 blow instead, the 2 whole blow, the E. And that's why if you listen to first position, especially the old style blues, you'll hear a lot of this. Because that's really the sweet spot for blues down the lower end of the harmonica. So does anyone want to volunteer to have a go playing that one? I can't see everyone, so you're just going to have to unmute and speak up. Or do we want to have a go playing that? Grab your C harmonica, come on. No volunteers. Okay, right, fine, let's move on. Ah. Okay. Hold on, here we go. Okay, alto. Okay, thank you, whoever that was. Sorry, I can't see. Is that James or Graham? No. So that was great. That was easy, wasn't it? Walter Horton, but not the blue scale down in first position. Something to practice. So. So it really needs that control on those lower bends. So let's move up to the middle. Well, there's just no blue notes there at all. Not very good, not very bluesy. Can't get a lot out of that middle part of the harmonica. And then up the top end, well, now you've got all three blue notes. So you've got a complete blue scale at the top end of the harmonica, starting from 7-hole blow. I can't get it right. So that sort of explains really why first position you tend to find is a lot of high end up the top harmonica, blues harmonica, and then down at the bottom end as well. Moving on, second position. Probably a bit more familiar to hopefully most of you in terms of playing blues. So where are the blue notes? Well, there's still some missing, but they're a bit more available on the normal notes of the harmonica or on the bends. But we have got a couple missing around about the sort of middle of the harmonica. So again, down the bottom, how many people play a blues scale down this end? How many people know the blues scale on the harmonica? Do you want to have a go? Have to come off mute if. So at the bottom end, we're going to start on the 2-hole draw, go up to the 3-hole half step bend, and then back down to the 1 blow. So it goes like this. So there's a whole blue scale available down there, but obviously not in total sequence. You have to move up. But everything we've got to play blues down the low end of the harp. Middle of the harp, of course, this is classically where you'd learn to play the blues scale from 2-hole draw, moving up. And then you can combine those two as well. So if you haven't done this, it's a really good thing to practice in second position. Just combining those two scales together, so you get a much fuller range. You know, you can do the scale through the full range of the harp up to hole 6. So I'll start with hole 6 and come down. So just that one scale played all the way through the bottom of the harp from hole 1 up to hole 6 is a really useful exercise as well. So again, a lot of people play second position blues and they're comfortable down that lower end of the harp into the middle, so from hole 6 downwards. But again, there's a discomfort. What do I do up the top end of the harmonica? And I think we might have had some previous lessons around this on the lockdown sessions. So looking at the next part of the harmonica, where's the blues scale? Well, we're actually missing 2 key notes. So if we're starting on the 6th blow, which is the G, and we want to play a blues scale in second position from there, you've actually got an overblow and an overdraw, and to get it. Otherwise, you're only playing the notes that are there in the major scale. So again, it's not going to sound that bluesy. So not great, but once you bring in those overblows or overdraws, which to be honest are pretty tricky, and I think I can only do the 6th blow. Can't do that 7 overdraw on this harp anyway, and I wouldn't normally anyway play those. So again, up the top end, excuse me, there is a little bit, you can get a couple of those notes up the top. You might notice the B flat up here on the 10 whole tone bend, blow bend. But most people hang around the whole 6 and downwards in second position blues. So let's look at third position, finally, the reason why you're here. So in third position, our notes are slightly different. So starting on D, we now have the flat 3 is F, the flat 5 is A flat, and the flat 7 is C. So you can see that actually, for the most part, these are all available all across the harmonica, with one exception. So we've only got one missing note. I think in second position, there were 2 missing notes. In first position, I think there were 3 or maybe 4. So third position seems to be quite well set out for blues, certainly for getting those blue notes we want. So again, down the lower end of the harp. So now I do want everyone to have a go, right? And this is tricky because it does involve those low bends. So this is starting from, you've got a full blues scale down the low end of the harp, starting from the 1 whole draw. And then we're going to go to the 2 draw whole tone bend, up to the 2 draw or the 3 blow. Now we've got to go right down to the 3 draw whole tone and a half bend, and then up to the whole tone bend on the 3, the 4 blow to the 4 draw. Now, does anyone want to unmute and have a go at that? Come on. I need to hear somebody else other than me. Any volunteers?
Okay, I'll have a go, Adam.
Go on then. Let's hear it.
I haven't done this before. I can normally play third position from 4 draw up.
Yeah. Nearly.
Yeah, the tone and a half.
That's the tricky
draw
bit.
bend on 3 is very difficult, isn't it?
That's good. You're just missing. So actually the note you're hitting on the 3 is the A, or as close to the A. You need to try and sort of really lean on it to get that A flat.
Yeah. Yeah, difficult.
That's it. You'll get it. You'll get it. That's
Something
good.
to practice.
Definitely. But you're right in saying, yeah, in the middle of the harmonica is probably the sweet spot for a lot of people, simply because there aren't really any tricky bends. So if we move on to the middle now, again, a full blues scale, no missing notes, none of those missing blue notes is available in the middle of the harmonica, starting from 4 draw, and you've only got 1 bent note, which should be hopefully within most people's range if they're intermediate, certainly to intermediate to advanced on this thing. The 4 draw, 5 draw, 6 blow, 6 draw, half step bend, semitone bend, up to the 6 draw, 7 blow, 8 draw. Let's all have a go at that. I'm going to go again. I can't hear anyone because you're all on mute, but that's okay. Great. So middle and lower end, we've got full blues scale all the way up now to 8 draw, which is better even than second position. And then finally, right at the top, we've almost got the whole blues scale. We're just missing that that flat 5, and obviously the final D. So starting from 8 draw, So 8 draw, 9 draw, 9 below, 10 draw, 10 below. And actually that, if you take the flat 5 away from the blues scale, you're left with a minor pentatonic scale. So actually at the top end there, you've got a minor pentatonic, albeit it's missing the final D at the end. So actually third position, the way it's laid out on the diatonic harmonica, is great for blues, because all the notes you need pretty much are there. Arguably, well, I think factually more so than second position. Perhaps where second position has a slight edge is that it has more notes in those lower holes where you can bend more, so you can get more of that sort of bluesy sound. So that's as far as I wanted to go to in the first part, and the second part is really much more playing from you guys over a jam track. So to really start to get familiar with third position. But please, hopefully take these away. The slides will be available. I've done some recordings of how all those scales should sound. So do practice them, because they really will, if you don't play them already, they'll really make you a much better player. I'm using a jam track that's widely available. It's on YouTube. So after this, if you want to practice to the jam track, you can get hold of that on YouTube and just play it. It's also got, I think the first minute or so is Jason Ritchie playing over it, and obviously hopefully he'll give you some inspiration. Before we get to it, what we're going to play over is a 12-bar blues chord progression. Hopefully is everyone familiar with what one of these looks like? The chords we're going to be playing are the 1, 4, 5. So in the same way previously, I was just using normal numbers to label the notes. The same mechanism, the same principle is used for chords, except you more commonly see them as Roman numerals. So the 1, 4, 5 in third position in the key of D, our 1 is D, the D chord, our 4 is G, and our 5 is the A. So, and the pattern I'm using here, 4 beats to a bar, 4 bars of the 1 chord, which will be the D, then we move to 2 bars of the G chord, 2 bars of the 1 chord, 1 bar of the 5 chord, which is the A, down to the G 4 chord, and then we finish. And it's quite common to do actually 6 beats on the 1 chord again, and then the last 2 beats will go up to the 5, which really just introduces the next 12 bars. So the first thing is really just to get us warmed up and getting familiar with those chord changes in third position. And we're just going to play 2 notes on each bar, which is actually the root of the chord and the flat 7th of that chord. So when we're on the 1 chord, we're just playing 4 draw, 4 blow. Moving up to the 4 chord, we're going to play 6 blow and 5 draw. Back to the 1 chord again, and then the 5 chord will be 6 draw, 6 blow, down to the 4 chord, and then the 1. So I'm going to put a jam track on, and I'll play it once myself, and then well, you guys feel free to join in whenever. But then I want you all to turn your microphones on so we can I can hear you. Right. So there's a little intro. Can everyone hear this okay? Turn it up. On to the 4 chord. Back to the 1, the 4 draw. Now to the 6 draw. 6 blow. So that's how it goes, just to get warmed up. And this is a great way actually of starting to, you could probably play this over any jam track, but then you can start to try and fill in the gaps and improvise around those key notes. So you might go sort of, and so on. You could just make some stuff to fill up those gaps. So everyone turn their mics off, or mics on rather, unmute themselves, and let's have a go. Let's see what a collective sounds like. Ready? Here we go. 2, 3, 4, and yeah. Up to the 6th blow now. One chord. Up to the 6th draw. Good. Hopefully, that's just a little warm up to get you sort of more familiar with those chord changes. So next one, we're going to play in the middle octave and just got some riffs over it. So we're going to do 4 bars at a time. So the first one, I'll put the jam track on in a minute, but first one is 4 draw, 5 draw, 6 draw, back to the 4 draw. And then we're going to go want to have a go at that? That's it, whoever that was. And then finish there on the, if you can do an octave, 1 blow, 4 blow. But if not, just play the 4 blow. Yes, good. Who was that? So, it goes like this. Yes, that's it. So I'm going to put the jam track on and just play this one through. Here we go. So got the intro again. 2, 3. And now. So it's coming right on, almost on that first beat. Let's just do it again. There's the intro. 2, 3, and that's it. Now, one of the hard things with tab, obviously, is to try to convey, and I'm not an expert at this, and certainly in writing music down, but to convey where the beats are and when to come in. So I have made a recording of this, which will be available on the website, so you can listen to it and just familiarize yourself. Let's pick up the next 4 bars now. So this one is similar. So we're going up and it's coming sliding back down. That's it. So There's one bent in there. So that second portion. What beautiful music we make together. That's it. That's it. So, we'll have a go at that. Over the jam track. That's it. Okay, so let's try and tackle those first 8 bars then, starting from the beginning to that point. So here goes. Jam track coming. Remember, 3. Now these last one. So this is classic 3rd position, middle of the harp. You've only got one bent note. Otherwise, it's all the natural notes. So that last line, from the 5 draw to the 4 draw, if you can't hit the octave, just go 5 below. And then reverse that almost. Anyone got any questions at this point? Anyone brave enough to have a go?
I've got a question, Adam.
Yeah, go for it.
The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, bar 9. Could you play slowly bar 9, 10, and 11 for us?
Bar 9, 10, and 11.
That's the 5, 4, and 1.
Okay, starting on the 5 draw. Or if you want to do the octave, the 2 blow, 5 blow octave. And then on the 4 chord, on the 4. So 5 blow, 5 draw, 4 draw, basically. And then back to the 1. So the whole thing.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Want one more time all the way through? Okay. Here we go. Starting from the beginning again. Grab your harp and have a go. 2, 3. Now we're coming to the 5. Sorry, I threw that bit at the end there. Couldn't help it. So that's some of you will need to take that away and just practice that. But that's classic middle octave, third position blues. It's fairly simple, really, in terms of not needing those complicated bends. So it should be within in all of your reach. Moving on to the high end now. So actually, this is classically where a lot of the time, if any of you can play octaves up here, this is a great place to get those high end octaves. But we'll just do it with single notes for now, and then I'll demonstrate what it will sound like with octaves. So if you like William Clark and guys like that, they used to play some great octave riffs up the top of the end of the harmonica in third position. So this one starts on the 6th draw. So you're really just coming down almost the major scale notes there from that 8th draw. That's it. So the whole thing again. And this is where, because it's quite a nice slow jam track, once you got familiar with the notes and what to play, you can work on how to add some more texture to it with things like, you know, maybe a little sort of trill or a I don't know, and stuff like that, and just adding your own little nuances just to make it that much more interesting. Maybe an octave or a warble or a okay, so let's do the next line. So this one is now we're going quite high up here for especially for a Zoom call. It might blow everyone's speakers. Someone's got it. Yeah, I can hear it being played correctly. Okay, so if you could just like hold for a sec. So this is where is great for when you get into those big octaves up the top of the harmonica. So anyone who hasn't tried playing octaves yet up the top end, for most of those draw notes, you've got to have your hole over 5 holes and block the middle 3 with your tongue to get those octaves. So from that 9 draw, for example, so that's playing that whole lot with octaves, and you get a much more punchier, richer sound. But that will take a bit of practice. So far, let's just recap. We've got from the 1. I'll put the jam track on a minute for us everyone to have a go. So from the 1. And then the final line, let's go through that final line again now. And then we're from the 9 draw. We're essentially repeating the same riff that we did in the previous 12 bars, just higher up the harp. And again, that last riff, great as an octave. You know, mic'd up, that's going to sound nice.
Adam.
Yeah.
Could you run through this and possibly the previous one, just with yourself and the backing track, Because
Yeah.
without the mute on, I'm sort of not really hearing the timing that you're after us getting. Does that
Okay.
make sense? Because we're
Let
not
me
all
do
aware
that.
of the timing, so I'm playing it
I
differently.
know and that's really tricky, I must admit, because I don't write music. I wasn't sure how to
No, it's
convey
just
the time of it.
do
I
it
have,
at once.
I
When we
will do it.
play it back, it's there for us. So.
Yeah, and I've recorded it as well. So if you go
Oh,
onto the
right,
website afterwards, there's a recording of this whole thing played across the piece. But just
great.
let me go back. If everyone could go on mute again, and I'll just jump back and play those first two, those first two ones, and just so you can hear it. Right, ready? Here we go. I'll do my best. Oh, hang on. Best laid plans. I'm starting on the wrong one. Right, let's go. Start again. Okay, going up. There you go. Hopefully that gives you an idea. I couldn't resist playing the octaves there, but obviously you could just play the single notes on that. So although that's all no bends on the upper octave. It's all single notes, all the natural notes of the harmonica. So again, practice that. Should be well within everyone's reach. Now I did do one down the lower octave, but obviously here we hit some of the more tricky bends. So let me just run through this, and if you're familiar with things like Telephone Blues, George Smith, this will be those kind of riffs. Starting on that 1-hole draw, 2-hole draw, whole step bend, up to the 4 draw. So it's that. And then we're coming down. I got that wrong myself. Let me try again. I'm not used to reading tab, so I'm getting it wrong just reading my own tab. I think that's what that's supposed to be. So that's that first line. In fact, I've made a mistake in here, I think. Yeah, I put a 2 draw in there, and I shouldn't have done that. So in the one I post up, I'll leave that out. So it goes from the 3 blow, or you could use the 2 draw. That's obviously the same note. I put it in twice. It's not there. It shouldn't be there twice. It should be. Everyone want to have a go at that? Those of you who are comfortable with those bands? And then 5 draw, 6 blow. That's the only trouble. Sorry, only trouble with the slides is I can't see all your faces all at once, so I don't know who's playing. But it's just one more time. 1 draw, 2 draw, whole step, 4 draw, and then from the 4 draw down, 4 blow. So apologies for that. In fact, sorry, I'm just going to get rid of it now so I don't forget, because that shouldn't be there. Let's lay plans. Here we go. So you're going from that 2 draw whole step bend to the 1 draw and up to the 4 draw. So that riff from the second second bar. It's a classic third position riff. And then just introducing the next bar on that last one. So the 5 draw, 6 blow. And then we're going to start on that again on the next bar on the 4 chord. And now we've got a tricky, this is quite tricky because it's starting on the, so down here it's starting on the 3 draw whole step bend up to the 3 draw. So let's just play that to the jam track so you can hear what it should sound like all together. So 2, 3. Now this last riff, I'll play properly in a minute. So the last riff is this. So from the 2 draw whole step bend to the 1 draw to the 2 blow. And now we've got a pattern of 4s. So 4 notes. It's easiest to tackle this in groups. So that first one, now we're going to go 2 draw, 3 draw whole step, 3 draw, 4 blow, which sounds like this. So the whole thing, I'll play the whole thing. But it's easier to tackle those in groups of 4 rather than the whole thing together. But it gives you a nice sort of long riff you can play over that. I've got it wrong. It'd help if I could get this right. No. So that's how that one finishes off. Do you want me to play that through one time and then you guys have a go, that whole thing? Let's do it. Okay, here we go. sorry. Here we go. Last riff. Okay, who's ready for a go? Graham, I'm relying on you here. Let's go. Ready? Grab your harp. Okay, 4 draw. Too difficult? About right?
About right with some practice.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously that's the harder part, because obviously those bends around the 2 draw, 3 draw take a bit of work. But I would say, going back to things like the major scale, or even just playing simple tunes, even things like you know, and then taking that down to the lower octave just helps, because you're so familiar with the tune, you know, do a dear and all that stuff. So familiar with the tune, you're going to know, you're going to train your ear where you're hitting that note, that bent note correctly. I've never played it down there, and never tried, but it's a really good way of practicing and trying to get your intonation right on those lower bends, especially 2 draw and 3 draw. I have got another one. There is another one here, kind of bonus extra for you guys to try, but I'm feeling it might be maybe a little bit more difficult, so something to work on. But I'll play it through once, and it'll be on the recording for you guys to practice and try. So it goes like this. So that's that one. That's probably a little trickier, but definitely give you something to work on there.
Adam, could I just ask you your thoughts about use of low key harps for third position? Because obviously the easiest place to play is in the middle octave, maybe the higher octave, but they can sound very squeaky, can't it?
It can do, yeah. And to be honest, you probably won't. I mean, C harmonica I've picked purely just because it's easier from a note, you know, understanding the notes. But yeah, third position definitely is better with the lower end, an A harp, G, or an A flat even. You hear quite a lot. But really low harps, I think the tricky thing with those, and I've got one here. This is a low E flat, for example. Is those lower bends, again 2 draw, 3 draw, you just need that much more control in your throat to hit those bends correctly, because you know, it's quite tricky. The reeds are obviously longer. So yeah, they're great. I mean, I tend to play, I suppose, third position. I don't do much sort of slow stuff with my band. So I tend to use it for more like kind of jump blues, more that sort of up-tempo stuff. So probably everyone's familiar with, let me just get it, I'm getting a G harp here. So we'll be playing in the key of A on a G harp in third position. So that, like William Clark, Blowing the Family Jewels is a classic third position one. And it's got lots of upper octave, but it does things like... And it kind of does all that sort of jump blues, sort of faster blues stuff, and it's great for that. Third position is really great. So guys like Dennis Grueling, William Clark, I mean, they're masters at this. But it's equally great for minor blues as well. But I just don't play that much of that myself. So yeah, I'd recommend lower tune harps. But I'd say if you're, you know, work on the bends on a higher harp. If you're struggling to get those differentiation between your 3-draw bends, and let's face it, that's probably the hardest hole on the harmonica, to get those 3 bent notes nice and clean. If you're struggling there, work on those on the higher harmonicas, because it will be easier to get those. You know, C and upwards, probably it's easier to hit those bends. I mean, obviously everyone's different. We're all created differently, and some people may disagree with me, but I think generally it's easier to practice those on the higher harp. And then when you go down to the lower harps, you just need to use more control in your throat to pull those notes down. But yeah, recommend it. Any other questions? I appreciate it's difficult. I mean, I guess everybody on the call has mixed abilities, but third position really is. It's not as mysterious or difficult as people think. I think, as you can see from just this, and this isn't, you know, this won't be the greatest third position playing you've ever heard in your life, but playing this, but it's relatively easy. There's not that much bending. Especially from the middle to the upper end of the harp, you can play quite comfortably in third position without needing to bend much at all. So I would say it's quite accessible in that sense. Cool. Well, I hope that was of some use to some of you. I hope you're able to take something away from that. I'll make sure the recordings and the slides are available. So. If you want to try and practice this a bit more, which I recommend.
I've just thought of another question. Can I ask Adam another question, Sam?
Yeah, of course you can. Of course you can.
Yeah. Can you give us some other blues standards, Adam, that are played in third position? I mean, St James's Infirmary Blues is,
well, yeah, I mean,
I tend to tinker around on, but are there other blues standards?
Those sort of classic minor tune stuff. Obviously, you'd have, most of you probably went to the Summertime. There was a lockdown one on Summertime. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a classic third position, but again, it's a minor blues. You know what? Off the top of my head, I'd have to think about that. I mean, there are loads. I mean, obviously, Telephone Blues, George Smith. Is kind of a classic third position on those. He probably plays that, does that, and that's how that tune starts. So I'll put that in the I think on the third chorus. I tell you what. Well, I'll go away and think about. I don't know, Sam. Are we able to put a few examples up on the site?
Yeah, I can.
I'll add it to the. I'll add a slide before I publish
Yeah.
it. I'll add a slide with some suggested listening.
Just
There are loads of great stuff. I'll put on the spot. I can't.
Castle of the Rising Sun, someone has just commented on.
Yeah, again, minor. So I think, I mean, those are great. I think I'll try and find some examples of ones of people playing third position that aren't over those classic minor blues, but over more perhaps major blues, because there's plenty of great examples. So yeah, I'll put some at the end, on the slide, and for anyone who wants to pick it up off the website, they can go and have a listen. I'll stick some YouTube links on there as well, so make it easy for you.
Adam?
That's great. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, no worries.
Just as a question, what harmonica what make of harmonica are you using to get that tone?
Well, I'm going to have to say the classic, really. The tone isn't in the harmonica necessarily. Actually, this is I don't know if you can see that. That's actually one that was customized by Kane Hamilton. So it was a sugar cane. So that's nice. But to be honest, I just use mostly standard harps. So I use mostly crossovers or special 20s. I don't think, this is a standard crossover. I think maybe the custom one's a little bit brighter, a little bit easier to bend, but not a massive difference. I wouldn't. I mean, actually, there's not a massive difference in price. Crossovers are pretty expensive now. Special 20s are pretty good.
There are a couple of questions on the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Let
One
me
is
stop sharing my screen, and then I can see it better.
you see the chat there?
Oh, a lot of questions. Right. Okay.
Let's have a look. Sorry, there was one from Francis. I thought that draw 3 unbent was a must to avoid in third position.
Draw 3 unbent.
Is that the sixth?
No, so draw 3. Well, I wouldn't say any note is a must to avoid, but there are notes that work better than others. The draw 3 might be more of a passing note. I don't know. Did you think it sounded completely off in there? Not to my ear.
No, well, no, I didn't, and that's why I asked the question actually, because it's one of those notes that I've been led to believe you didn't play, but it didn't sound, and that's why I asked the question.
I think over the right chord. I mean, you've just got to make the choices. So I think in that case, I might have put it over the 4 chord. So it may not have sounded off. So clearly, depending on, so it's not so much the key, but the chord you're over that will dictate whether there's certain notes that maybe don't quite work so well. But again, if they're played as a passing note, then actually having a little bit of sort of tension doesn't hurt at all. So I would say no notes are off limit. You've just got to, decide for yourself what works to your ear and what doesn't. But yeah, clearly some notes will be safer than others. I mean, if you think about third position, we were playing for, what was it, the third chord, we're in D, key of D, but D, E, F, G. The 4 chord is a G. So the 4 chord, you're essentially back into second position. So all the licks you play in G in second position are gonna work in third position when you move to the 4 chord.
I think one last question saying, can you show chorus 3 slide again, please?
Sure. Chorus 3. Yeah, and I did. So just share my screen. These will be up on the website as a PDF, so you'll be able to see them. There we go. All good. So this is the upper octave stuff. How comfortable are people up at that top of the end of the harmonica? Is it? Do you tend to avoid it?
No. You seem to end up playing that in first position quite a lot.
Yeah. And in second position, I think it tends to be, people tend to avoid it. Simply, as I said, when I was going through the blues scale, you're missing a lot of key notes. I think you've got a couple of the blue notes up from 9-hole blow to 10-hole blow, but it's difficult to know what to do up that end. But there are other scales that, and I wouldn't, scales tend to put people off learning scales, especially because that's not necessarily the reason you picked up the harmonica in the first place, to play scales. But there are a few that I recommend. Even the major scale, you hear in I don't know, you'll hear certain runs in, like Big Walter Horton when he plays Walter's Boogie, sort of that. And then he goes that run from the. I can't do it now without playing it, but no, it's not that, is it? So that sort of stuff. It's really just a lot of. You can still use things like the major scale or parts of it to get down from that top end of the harp. But also there's the major pentatonic scale, which is another one I recommend you learn. Quite an easy one as well. It doesn't require a lot of bending. So it's really sweet. It's a really sweet sounding scale. And that's a great one for playing up at the top end of the harp, because you just can just flow nice and easily down. But third position's great up there because you've got all those, you've got all the blue notes, and you don't even have to bend that much. So,
okay, well,
any more, or has it come to an end?
I think that's pretty much it. I think we'll let you go now, Adam. Thank you very much. Really, again, sort of as all these sessions have been, sort of different views from different players of all sorts of different things. Again, brilliant, and thank you very much for doing this.
Thanks, guys, for putting up with me, and I hope you got something useful out of it. And
yeah, I thought it was a great session, Adam. Thank you.
Thanks, Graham.
Yeah, excellent.
And yeah, please practice this. Have a go. Download it from the website and have a go, because you'll soon be playing in third position. You'll wonder what all the fuss was about.
Yeah, I think another song I was thinking of is "Thrill Is Gone."
Yeah, again, another minor blues. So I'm going to make it my. I mean, I'll tell you one guy. I don't know if one of my favourite harmonica players, just very quickly, Paul DeLay. If you listen to any of his stuff, he does some great tunes in third position, with fantastic third position playing. So I'll pick a couple of his stuff out, see for you to have a listen to. He's one of my favourite players. Fantastic. Sadly not with us anymore, but brilliant player. So yeah, thanks all. Have a good rest of the day.
Just
okay, thank you.
Thank you.